Hello everybody, in today's video we're going to be going over some warmer conditions which are going to be overtaking the northern and western part of the country. If you live in the southeast or the southern plains as well as in the northwest, you guys might be dealing with a little bit of chillier or colder air. We're going to be going over a lot of information in today's video, so make sure you are staying tuned all the way until the end so you don't miss anything in this video. So here's what the current National Weather Service page looks like. As you can see, we have some excessive heat warnings in effect for parts of California, Nevada, Arizona, and Utah, as well as some red flag warnings which cover much of the northwest parts of Utah and then also into parts of the northern plains as well. In that pink color, we have some flood watches in the green for parts of Louisiana and also northern Wyoming, and then we have some heat advisories in that orange. And by the way, if you're wondering why we have those flood advisories in parts of Wyoming, I believe that is probably because of melting snowpack added on with a little bit of rain, and that could cause a little bit of flooding concerns within that area. Yesterday we had a high temperature of 120 degrees Fahrenheit, our first 120 degree plus high temperature of the year in the United States in Death Valley, California. We got down to 28 degrees 9 miles south of Albany, Wyoming. In Fort Myers, Florida, they got 4.77 inches of rainfall, and there were no snowfall reports yesterday. Here's what the current models look like in terms of the temperature anomalies. And if you don't know what temperature anomalies are, they're basically the difference between the average temperature and what we're actually expecting the temperatures to be. So for example, if you see on this map, if you see that you're in maybe that orange or that red color, that would be where you're above normal, or let's say you're about 5 or 10 degrees above the typical temperature. So if your average temperature for this time of year is 80 degrees, add 5 or 10 degrees and you would be looking at 85 to 90 degrees for the actual high temperature. So that's basically how to use this map. It's showing you how different or how much of a difference there is from the normal compared to what we're actually expecting. So in those oranges, the reds, and also that brown color, which you can see over the northern and western part of the country, that's where we're expecting above normal temperatures. In the blues and the greens, which is in parts of the northwest and also the southern and southeastern United States, that's where we're dealing with below normal or colder than normal temperatures. So here would be for tomorrow. Again, you can see that in the north and also back through to the southwest, we have those above normal temperatures and really above normal in parts of the northern plains. This is going to be the area, especially in parts of the Dakotas, Minnesota. Then you get through parts of Montana and Wyoming, even into areas like Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario, Canada. All those areas are going to be dealing with really, really warm temperatures that are going to be right around 10 to 20 degrees Celsius above normal, and that'll be probably around 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit above normal. So these are really, really warm temperatures in the northern plains. It won't be as warm in the southwest and the northeast compared to normal, but it will still be a little bit above normal for tomorrow. We have some chillier temperatures again in the southern plains and the southeast, as well as in the northwest. And this area in the northwest is going to be our next cold air mass. So this is going to be starting to overtake parts of the western United States. In along parts of the west coast will eventually start to get in on some of those colder temperatures, and you're going to start to see that cold air spread further and further to the south. Here to be for Sunday, and you can see that the warm air is shifting over a little bit further to the east. This cold air is starting to move a little bit further to the east as well, and the cold air in the southern United States is briefly and it's briefly expanding. It's not going to be too long lived in terms of the expansion of this cold air. Eventually we will see this shrink down a little bit, and it'll go back a little bit further to the south. If we go to Monday, you can see that we're still dealing with fairly above normal temperatures in much of the eastern and northern half of the country, and then along the west coast and in the northwest especially is where we're dealing with those below normal temperatures. For Monday, it does look like we might actually go into a little bit of a near normal or even a little bit above normal pattern in parts of the southeast and the southern plains, so it will start to kind of die down there in terms of those chillier and colder temperatures. If we look at for Tuesday, really not a lot lot of cold air to be seen in parts of the southern United States, so really nothing to worry about there. If you don't like the colder than normal temperatures, we're eventually going to go right back into those warmer than normal patterns. The only area now that is going to be dealing with below normal temperatures is going to be along the west coast here. So you can see that from the northwest down into the southwest, we have temperatures that are going to be about 5 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit below normal. So it will be fairly chilly, but it again will still be comfortable enough. Nothing that's going to be too mind-blowing in terms of the temperatures. And again, it is still warm over the northern plains and the northeast, so it is still staying warm over those areas. By Wednesday, now we're starting to see another area of high pressure starting to develop. So we have one that's out here, and that's going to keep parts of the northeast dry at least for a little bit. And then we have another one in the northern plains by Wednesday that's starting to take place right over there. So we're seeing some of those warmer than normal temperatures in the northern plains, another area in the northeast with those warmer than normal temperatures. The southern U.S. is starting to warm up significantly near normal or even a little bit above normal temperatures. And then along the west coast, we're now starting to deal with those below normal temperatures. If we go for Thursday, this is when we're going to start to go a little bit chillier than normal in the southern United States. So we will still start to see a little bit more cold air being introduced here. The reason this is because we're going to be dealing with a storm that might roll through areas of the Gulf states and also into the Tennessee Valley. It'll be all rain for the most part, but that might bring down your temperature. So as it's raining, it might be maybe 70 degrees, 80 degrees compared to what's normal, which would be around 85 or 90 degrees in some of these areas. So we're cooling down a little bit, and again, that's not really due to the pattern. It's more just due to one individual storm system that'll be bringing down the temperatures with its rain. So nothing that's going to be too long lasting. That cold air in the western United States is now really starting to spread out. So pretty much anywhere from the Rockies westward is now below normal in temperatures. And then also looking up into Canada, pretty much everywhere except for the southernmost tier of Canada is now below normal. So if you go maybe, I would say 50 to 100 miles north of the border, you are going to start to get much colder, much chillier than normal, especially in areas on either side of Canada. So in the eastern part of Canada and the western part of Canada, both of those areas are going to be fairly below normal. The most above normal area is going to be in the northern plains once again. So these areas are not catching a break. You're going to be into the 90s and even triple digits in some of these areas, and we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. And if you look at for Friday of next week, you can see the below normal temperatures, they're not too anomalous, so they will still just be about 2 to 3 degrees below normal, but it's overtaking much of the southeast, the Tennessee Valley, and also into the southern plains. The cold air is breaking up into the west and also in the northern part of the country, still hanging on to those warmer than normal temperatures. If we look at the actual high temperatures in Fahrenheit, you can see that we have a big blob of really warm temperatures into the northern plains. Those are going to be temperatures up near 95 to 100 degrees Fahrenheit. So you don't really expect that this time of year. Again, this is going to be 20 to 30 degrees above what is normal in some of these areas. And then also in the southwest, even though it's not as above normal compared to your normal, it is still going to be very, very warm. So we have temperatures that are going to be getting up near 120 degrees, like those areas like Death Valley, California, which we saw had the national high temperature at 120 degrees. It's going to be more of a widespread 110 to 120 degrees, mainly in the desert areas and mostly in those low-lying areas as well. This would be for Sunday of this week, and you can see that we have not as warm temperatures in the northern plains. It's now starting to shift a little bit further to the east. So pretty much anywhere in the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and even into parts of the southeast as well, are going to be into the mid 80s, so above 85, and even some areas getting above 90 in a couple of these spots. The southwest is still warm, but not as warm as what we were dealing with before. If we look at for Monday, you can see those warmer temperatures are now going back into the northern plains. So for parts of the Dakotas, Wyoming, Nebraska, also back through areas like Iowa and Minnesota, we're dealing with some of those much warmer than normal temperatures. So these are going to be ranging between about 90 and I would say 97 and 98 degrees Fahrenheit. So these are going to be fairly warm in many of these spots. And then right along the Mexico border, that's where we're going to be dealing with also some very warm temperatures near 95 to even 100 degrees in some of those spots. If we go to Tuesday of next week, you can see that we have those warmer temperatures still hanging on in the north, and also we're now starting to see the central U.S. start to warm up a little bit more. So as you get into western Texas, western Oklahoma, western Kansas, even into parts of Colorado and New Mexico as well, instead of being in those below normal temperatures, you're not going to actually start to heat up a little bit. So these areas that are further to the west in the southern U.S. might actually start to warm up just a little bit into the mid 80s and the 90s, which is quite typical for this time of year in these areas. If you go for Wednesday, not a lot has changed. It's actually warming up quite significantly along the East Coast, however. So we have 90s and mid 80s, which are going all the way up into parts of New England and as far south as Florida. Still a little bit chilly as you get through parts of the Tennessee Valley and also into the Gulf states. So it will be a little bit chilly in these areas. And again, that's mainly just because of one individual storm that should help to bring down the temperatures a little bit. And then if we go for Thursday, not a lot has changed as well. You can see definitely the footprint of those chillier than normal temperatures in the northwest. We're dealing with highs that are getting up into the 60s and 70s only. So those are fairly chilly, but again, it still will be comfortable enough. It won't be anything too major, and we're definitely not looking at anything too significant in terms of snow. Mainly just in the higher elevations, you could see a little bit of snow, but that's it. So we're not dealing with anything that's going to cause major issues or anything like that. If we go to Friday of next week, you can see it cools down a little bit along the East Coast, especially throughout this area right here. But then into the southern United States especially, this is when it's starting to warm up right along the Gulf Coast and then into the southwest as well. We could be seeing a few areas getting up near 115 degrees in parts of Texas, New Mexico, or Arizona by that point. But again, that is still far out, so we still need to get a little bit closer before we can make a little bit more of a clear decision on that. If we look at the 6 to 10 day outlook, which goes from the 9th of June to the 13th, you can see that we have from the Climate Prediction Center a fairly high chance of being above normal all through the northern tier of the country. The only areas that are expected to be below normal are extreme southern Florida, parts of the southern plains as well, and then also into a little bit of western California and western Oregon as well. But those are very small areas compared to the bigger area of above normal temperatures that's for areas into the eastern United States, through the central U.S., and even into parts of the Rockies as well. If we look at the 8 to 14 day outlook as well, you can see that the warmer temperatures now start to overtake parts of the west. So along the west coast, you might actually start to warm up by the 11th through the 17th. So in another 2 or 3 weeks, you guys should start to warm up a little bit more, and it's still maybe a little bit chillier than normal in the southern plains. We're going to have to see how accurate that is as we get closer to this time. If we look at the hazards map, you can see that we have mostly just above normal temperatures being the main hazard. So from the 6th through the 8th, they're outlining in parts of Nevada and Utah that we could see a little bit of warmer than normal action through there. Much above normal temperatures expected from the 6th through the 10th in the northern plains. So definitely watch out for that if you live within that area. From the 6th through the 8th in the Great Lakes, we're expecting much above normal temperatures. And then from the 6th through the 9th in parts of the Northeast and New England, that's where we have those much above normal temperatures expected. And then we have heavy rain also expected from the 6th through the 8th, and that might be the time period when we start to cool down a little bit in parts of the southern United States. If you look at the 8 to 14 day hazards map, you can see that in this first area, which goes from the northwest into the Midwest, you can see that we have from the 14th through the 17th the chance of excessive heat, and then for the 11th, for areas from the northern plains to the Great Lakes, we have the chance of excessive heat as well. And then if you're worried about precipitation or you're curious about that, here's what the 6 to 10 day outlook looks like for that. You can see we're expecting above normal rainfall in parts of the eastern U.S., much below normal in the northern and central Rockies, as well as in parts of the Great Plains, and then a little bit above normal in parts of the northwest coast as well. So that is going to wrap it up for today's video. Please consider liking the video, subscribing, and turning on notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.